Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the LFC Transfer Room with myself, Louis Fell, and another episode taking place within this very pink and purpley and creamy bedroom, this time with green text overlays, cutting edge of technology, and just shows that the LFC Transfer Room is at the forefront of all things good and well in the fan channel YouTube community. It's good to be back again. It's going to be a slightly shorter stream, I imagine, today. As you've all probably seen, or should I say not seen, there's not much going on in the world of football as this international break has come at terrible timing following the Queen's death and the period of mourning and some of the games being called off. Some pretty pointless friendlies coming up at this point, leading into the World Cup. Not a lot of interest. The transfer window's closed. People are losing their minds a little bit, and I'm certainly one of them, as you can tell by the hair transplant that's happened here. It's not a hair transplant, I just shaved it all off. Good evening, and welcome to everybody who is just joining. Please do get involved in the live chat. It's not the chat room, but it's going to have that same vibe. It's me and you guys. So anything I say, please comment on it, get involved. If you've got any questions, get them in. I'll be more than happy to have a conversation with you and chat about that. If you are new or you haven't done so yet already, please do like this video. It really does help us out. And please subscribe to the channel as well. We are your number one place to be for Liverpool football content. We go live every night, or almost every night at 7:30. Usually there's a few more of us, but I'm just flying solo for a few days. We do post-match reaction previews, opposition previews. We have journalists from the Athletic and newspapers talk about opposition teams. We do match watch-alongs, lots of transfer news, as you can imagine by our title, player analysis, all kinds of that good shit. So please do stick around if this is your very first time joining. First impressions matter a lot. I know this isn't the best first impression, but bear with us. Check out some of our other videos. We've got good setups. I'm just on the road a little bit at the moment, so not a great deal of beauty behind the scenes. But as you've probably clicked on this video for, Jordan Henderson has now been called up to the England team. He has been injured. He has missed several games for the club. Has not played since picking up that injury, but has now been deemed fit after apparently recovering quicker than expected from that hamstring problem. Will be joining Gareth Southgate's men, the squad for the games against Italy and Germany after recovering from a hamstring injury ahead of schedule. Now we're going to have a chat about it. So let me know your thoughts on this, because obviously he's missed a lot of games. He's not the most popular figure in Liverpool right now, or certainly amongst the fan base. A lot of people angered at his playing time, angered at his performances recently, and angered at how he's held himself, I guess. Missed a lot of important games for us. Whether that's advantageous for us depends on your viewpoint. But now his first action since returning will not be in a Liverpool shirt. It will be training with the England squad. So this is a good chance on an international break to discuss international football, the benefits that friendlies really hold. Are they a complete waste of time? Or for a player like Jordan Henderson, could it actually be something of benefit? A chance to play semi-competitively against high-class opposition, but in a more friendly environment, to train with obviously other English players from up and down the league, up and down the country. And I think international friendlies rightfully get a lot of slack as being very boring and uninteresting, but from a player's perspective, are they actually quite a useful tool in terms of getting back into the swing of things, getting match fit, getting some momentum and some rhythm, which on this channel we talk about a lot of our players being those kinds of people where they need that rhythm. Your Oxlade-Chamberlains, your Naby Keitas, your Firminos maybe. They need that game after game after game to get into the flow of things. You can't just chuck them in and expect them to perform well like a Thiago or like a Van Dijk or like an Alisson. And that there's no right or wrong. It's just the way you are. And I think it's fair enough to be like that. Darwin, new account to Never Walk Alone. Hope you're doing well. Please do get involved in the live chat, by the way, guys. It'd be great to have plenty of interaction today. I know it's a bit of a slow news day, but we'll make do and we'll entertain each other a little bit, won't we? Have the Reds found Jude's release clause / amount? I think I'd prefer to just not talk about Jude Bellingham for a little bit. Probably not the answer you were hoping for, but is that what you're trying to say? Is there a release clause? Because if there is, I don't know why we wouldn't just pay it, but I have serious doubts. I don't think so. But let me know. Let's talk about this Jordan Henderson thing. So I think when this news first comes up, it's easy to straight away at least think, well, what's going on here? It's too soon, as the title of this video suggests. How is this his first interaction? Why is he being potentially thrown into a starting 11 of pretty much strangers and potentially getting re-injured on international duty when our midfield is somewhat in tatters? I think it's getting better. We saw that against Ajax. And now he's being, as I said, being thrown into the mix in an international friendly. So this could go one of two ways. He could come back refreshed and with a bit of game time, bit of gas in the tank, some fresh legs, or he could re-knock this injury, couldn't he? And then we're all in deep trouble. So we'll see what happens there. But I'm keen to get your guys' thoughts on this because I think it's quite an interesting topic. Jen says it's about time Premier League managers say no to England. Well, that's what I was kind of wanting to get towards, but I always forget as soon as I start talking. When you're a player like Jordan Henderson, who's coming back from an injury, I mean, I guess they just live in a different world because we're just pure Liverpool fans and most of us don't really care about England / want them to lose most games. But these guys are playing at the pinnacle of football. And if they have a chance to play in an international team, go to World Cups, go to European Championships, I guess in their minds, they're just going to take it no matter what. I think what we expect to happen is for Jordan Henderson to think, no, I'm the captain of Liverpool. Liverpool's my number one priority. I don't want to risk re-injuring myself, even though I've recovered earlier. That would raise some red flags in my mind about, do I want to jump straight into this or do I want to take that extra week and a half to build up some more fitness in a comfortable setting, in a safe setting, away from competitive football. But and from that, we would expect him, I think, in our minds, in slightly delusional minds, to say, no, I'm not coming, Gareth. Liverpool are my priority. We're short in the midfield. I've not had a great start. I want to get my head down at Kirkby training ground and get myself back in this bloody team because I haven't been good enough. Our midfield hasn't been good enough. And that's all I care about right now. I'm not going to play much in your team. We know that already. I'm a year older. You've got your two midfielders in Rice and Phillips, and even then, I'm probably behind somebody else like Bellingham, etc. So I'm going to stay here. That's what we all think he should be saying. Unfortunately, that's just probably not the way footballers' minds work. And it's a shame. I think that would be brilliant if you had players constantly saying no to their international team because they're more focused on the club. But if we were in the same situation, I'd like to think I would stick to my guns and I'd get to the Premier League at the age of 21 or whatever, and I'd instantly announce my international retirement and I'd say, nope, I am staying fresh as a fiddle for my beloved Liverpool as much as I can. You can shove that up your arse, Southgate. But no, all jokes aside, once you get over it, it's reasonable, isn't it? It's reasonable. North Red, hope you're doing well, says, I can't believe we've let Henderson go. We are weak in midfield, needs to take every chance to rest our midfield players. If this goes wrong, Klopp is leaving himself wide open. This is where I'm not really sure about our power and squad dynamics comes into this. I believe Henderson is going because he really wants to go. That's my view on this. If we stop him from going, this isn't the same as rejecting an extra day's holiday. This is rejecting your chance to play at the highest level. So Champions League football, international, World Cups, etc. We would be stopping his chance of making a final impression on Gareth Southgate to potentially be in a World Cup squad. Whether you play or not, you could be part of a World Cup squad that gets to a semi, that gets to a final, that wins the thing. I'm not saying England are going to win it, but that's where the player's mindset is going to be. So for the sake of dynamics, and this is for you to decide whether it's worth upsetting Henderson or not. But I'd imagine Klopp and his coaching staff are thinking, well, he is our club captain. He's been with us for years. Who are we to stand in his way? And I think they extend that to most players anyway. I don't see us stopping anyone from going to international duty unless it's because of like COVID or something. I know we tried to have an influence with that, but because of injuries, because of outside factors, it's not Henderson's fault that there's injuries in the squad, is there? So who are we to stand in his way? Philip Bidwell, hope you're doing well. Says apart from Henderson, should have said no. The club should have told England he's not coming as he's only coming back from injury. Well, he's obviously been okay. I think what the news that came out was that he's come back earlier than expected, which is a bit, don't like the sound of that. But he's had some training sessions and has been fine and suffered no reoccurrences or any pain. So he's been medically signed off. So in the medical staff's mind, in Henderson's mind, that injury is no longer relevant. If he picks up another injury, unless it's the same one, it's not because of that, if that makes sense. So it's a hamstring injury. So say it's hamstring, just say hamstring in total, that's the injury that he had. If he picks up the exact same hamstring on international duty, then we can all turn around and say, look, this was a bit of a cock-up, wasn't it? Like, this was a bit stupid. But if he picks up a calf injury or the other hamstring or breaks his elbow, it's got nothing to do with that previous injury, has it? So, we've just got to cool ourselves a little bit and think, at the end of the day, Henderson and all players want to play at the highest level, be a part of the greatest things, and being with a chance of winning the greatest honours in football. And really, although many of us would probably argue the Champions League is better because it's a closer knit group of brilliant teams, the World Cup for millions, potentially billions around the world, is the be-all and end-all of football. On the international stage, can your country, can your players do it? And the players will probably see it the same way in a lot of instances. So, circling back around on what I've said already, Henderson, 100% will want to be there. It's not in Klopp's wishes or best interests to say no to a player wanting to play for their country. It's not Henderson's fault that we've got other injuries in our squad. And it's not Gareth Southgate's fault or anybody's fault if Henderson picks up a different injury to the one that he's had, if that makes sense. So a lot of points packed into one. Let's get some thoughts, because there are loads of comments. Thank you very much for getting involved, everybody. Let me just go back a little bit. Oluwu, thank you for joining. Blue cheese, no fleas. Hope you're doing well. If Henderson gets injured, it has no impact on our form right now. We are better without him. Right now, he's an average midfielder. But I think the main point that people are worried about is that we have had injuries already this season. Not just Henderson, but Thiago, Elliott could pick up something. Fabinho, Keita's out. Oxlade-Chamberlain's out. Suddenly, our options are diminishing. So, to at least just have another option is quite important for some people. But I take your point about, obviously, his form's not great. And maybe that's something that this international break can help with. Matip should be our captain. Interesting shout. So you pick Matip over Van Dijk? I don't think Matip's a certified starter. I think Konate is at his level already. I can't believe we let Henderson go. We are weak in midfield. We need to take every chance to rest our midfield players. If this goes wrong, Klopp's leaving himself wide open. I think I did read that already, didn't I? They should have sold Henderson, says Blue Cheese No Fleas, and I'd start an unknown Arthur Mello over Henderson. I'm being serious. Well, you can say that, can't you, until he plays, and then we'll know. He could be absolute tosh, and we'll suddenly be begging for Henderson to play again. But that is Henderson is that player, isn't he? As soon as he's out of the team, a lot of people, and obviously not everyone here, but a lot of people suddenly glorify his impacts on the team, glorify his athleticism, his ability to cover for Trent, which he hasn't done for yonks. He hasn't done that for years. So if you're going to slate Elliott for not doing that, Henderson ain't the answer. Henderson doesn't have the legs anymore to cover for Trent and hasn't been doing so for years. So I don't think that's a valid criticism. Apart from, no, I've read that one. Thank you, Philip. If Henderson goes, then the likes of Bajcetic and Ox will get game time. Yeah, but there's no games. I think everyone's got a little bit confused. I've seen a few comments like that. I think everyone's a bit confused. There's no games during the international break. Oh, unless you... Oh, sorry. I think you mean getting rid of Henderson full stop, don't you? Sorry. I misread that one. Is Joe Gomez on the England team? They can keep him, says Blue Cheese. So we've got another Joe Gomez hater. I understand after the previous few games. He's not been great, has he? That makes no difference. He's our player. We have to say whether he should be picked. We do. Ultimately, I believe the clubs do have a say, but it's in their best interests to not stand in their players' way. If you restrict one player from going and let others go, that's instantly creating a division, unwanted. Like the press would have a go at us. People would be talking about it. It just creates this unnecessary headline on the outside, and then on the inside, it creates that division. It creates people thinking they're better than others. It's jealousy. You get attitude problems starting to develop. It's, when you look at it on its own, yeah, maybe it would be best. But when you look at it as part of a bigger picture, it just doesn't benefit us in the long run at all. We keep Henderson, but we piss him off and create a rift unnecessarily. And we create media drama as well, because people love that. If it comes out, Liverpool the only club to stop a player from going to international football at the minute. It's just unnecessary, isn't it? To be quite honest, if Henderson was African, Liverpool would release him. Well, there's times for conversations like that. I think whataboutery is not the best way to go about talking about it. I think it's a very serious issue. And I take your point into consideration, but it's just not I don't think it's very useful, especially for somebody like me to be talking about stuff like that in a whataboutery sense. I don't think is particularly helpful. Gary, hope you're doing well. And Arsenal for Life says, looking forward to playing you next month. You should be, I think. I mean, if Ajax is anything to go on, if Ajax is an indicator of our future, we're getting better. Arsenal, you're doing fantastically well. I'll give you that. Arteta is showing some elite qualities in terms of being allowed to build a squad. Are you Kroenke out though? Did you doubt the Kroenkes for a hot minute, and now suddenly they've, with the help of Arteta, but backing him, giving him good backing and believing in his vision, giving him the time as well. If the Kroenkes had listened to you lot at the start of last season, they'd have sacked him, and then you'd have God knows who, and you'd be exactly where you were a few years ago. So if you want to praise, I don't know why I've gone on this tangent, but if Arsenal fans are going to praise the players, praise Mikel Arteta, you've got to praise the Kroenkes, and you've got to take a step back and say, did I have a reason to complain? Maybe not. Or did I just need to be a bit more patient because not everything is about the here and now? Maybe. I think they need a locker room leader, so they chose Henderson, says Oliver. Well, obviously, yeah, and that's why Milner's been kept around, primarily. And this is why I've said multiple times, Milner will be as shocked as any of us at how often he's played football this year. He signed that contract, he took that pay cut, knowing this was one of, if not his last year in professional football at the highest level. and he would not be playing very often. It would be bit parts. It would be the last 10 minutes trying to hold a lead, the last 20 minutes when we're 5-0 up, comfortable scoreline, rest some players. It would be the early rounds of the Carabao, the early rounds of the FA Cup, Champions League games that we'd already wrapped up or needed some stability. I don't know. And the odd injury. He would not, and I'll try and hopefully make this the last time I say this, because I know I repeat myself a lot. He would not have been expecting to play as many minutes as he had. And yeah, he'll be just as stunned as the rest of us, won't he? Gary Richards says Liverpool will win the next 6 games. We need to, don't we? Not just, you can believe the league is still on or you can believe it's off or whatever, but we need to go on a run, because those 6 games will include a few competitions. That will include the Carabao Cup. That should include some Champions League fixtures as well, and of course the Premier League. So we need to go on a good, consistent run, build some rhythm, and get that momentum back that we had throughout most of last year. Blue Cheese, I love saying that name. Blue Cheese No Fleas says Man City could drop points to Spurs, Arsenal, Man United, even teams like Everton. They can, but it depends on the other teams if they're going to have a go at them or not, or if they're going to actually try. Like we all saw that clip, or if you're on Twitter or you watch the game, we've all seen that clip of the Wolves Man City game where Jose Sarr, the complete beta cuck that he is, like shaking Kevin De Bruyne's hand before the game and being like, "Oh, yeah, don't score 4 against me again, Kevin." Yeah, as if you can score 1 or 2, but don't try to score 4. Like even De Bruyne was embarrassed by that. Like as much as he's clearly, like everyone else, signed away his soul to the devil by joining a sports washing brand, he's still semi-likable, Kevin De Bruyne. Like, I think he's quite a humble bloke, and he just seems like a relatively nice guy, doesn't he, compared to others, and a relatively fair person as well. He was kind of embarrassed. Like he was just like, "Oh yeah." Like you could just tell Wolves had lost that game before they kicked the ball. They put up a little bit of a fight in that first half, but to concede so early, to go down the way they did, we've seen it so many times. Teams show up to Man City and they think, "Oh, let's just get this one over and done with, and we'll win next week. We'll win against Liverpool. We've got Man City this week, sod it. Liverpool next week. Let's focus on that one and put our all into that one." The tinfoil hat coming out there. It's definitely 100% true, isn't it? Teams try way harder against us, but the flip side is we kind of allow them to, I guess. I don't know. Oluwu says no transfer news today. No, we did a bit of transfer news in the chat room yesterday. I think you were there. Nothing else from that. I mean, this is the thing. It's only September and the window closed 19 days ago. There's still 2 and a bit months until it reopens again. Well, no, 3 months until it reopens again in January. So if there was a new rumour every day, we would explode. We would explode and we'd grow sick of it and we wouldn't believe anything ever. So I'm kind of thankful that there isn't. But of course, for the LFC transfer room, it leaves us a bit lacking in news. But again, this is why having a community is great to get us through times like this. So please do like this video, please subscribe, and please share it about as well. If you've got any friends or distant people on the internet who you talk to, or a community who are Liverpool fans, share this video with them, share the channel with them. Don't be selfish. Henderson is a great leader and has won more than Harry Kane. I think great leader, yes. What they've won is not always the best indicator, is it? Because Jimmy Traore has won more Champions Leagues than Kevin De Bruyne, hasn't he? And yes, for banter's sake, a lot of you will say, yes, Traore is better than Kevin De Bruyne. But once we get past that, obviously De Bruyne much better than Jimmy Traore. So not always the best argument. Kane is obviously a better player than Jordan Henderson, especially at the moment. But he is a great leader. And I think that will never be appreciated, because all that we see. We don't see what happens off the field. We don't see what happens in the changing room. We don't see those interactions. We don't see Henderson sorting out disagreements. We don't see him putting the team together, which I'm sure he's so good at. His leadership during the Super League thing, organising all the captains and getting those statements out. Ultimately, what we see is what's on the pitch. And, I and many others can also sit back and appreciate what he does off the pitch. But you've got to admit, on the pitch, it hasn't been great, and it hasn't been great for a while. There's the odd game where he's brilliant, but that's not really enough where we want to be right now, is it? By the way, how did Arthur play today with the under-21s? I think that game's still going, or it's only just finished. I'm not actually 100% sure. We should forsake the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup this year and focus on the Premier League and Champions League. I mean, do you think the Premier League's still on? I'm sure a lot of people do, and maybe I could be convinced, but I never think you should bin the cups. I don't think you can do that because they're great to fall back on. Like, imagine if we'd have binned the cups last year, and like there's no guarantee that would have meant we'd won the Premier League and Champions League. Imagine the whole season goes the exact same, except we lost the Carabao Cup game against Leicester and we lost the FA Cup game against Shrewsbury. So no cup finals. All we've got is the end of the season, 2 games. Villa still lose 3-2 to Man City. We still lose in the remaining minutes. And Real Madrid still get that goal against us, which should have been offside. We're still heartbroken twice, but this time we've got nothing. We've got not even 2 cup competitions to fall back on. And I think they're important. The FA Cup's not to be laughed at either, and the Carabao Cup is just a nice bonus. It was a nice mid-season feeling of, yes, we're building something here. Great things can happen, can't it? You don't want to get knocked out of a cup. You don't. If you need to rest players in the early stages, do it. But when it gets to the semis and the quarterfinals, etc., I think we've seen this team, apart from injuries, excels when we're playing game after game after game. That's when we build those rhythms. We don't always play fantastically, but that's when we just get over the line multiple times. Breaks never seem to help us. I'm hoping this one is the exception and we do start to play fantastically well. But generally, coming back from a break or having a game on a Saturday and then next Sunday, we don't have that flow. These players excel under pressure in the highest moments most of the time. So we'll see. But my point is, I don't think we should give up on the cups. I can't believe Southgate is England manager. Shocking decision, in my opinion. Well, it's not new, is it? I think this tournament has to be his last one if we don't win it. I say we. I'm Scouse, not English. They play different roles. It's like chalk and cheese. Kane would do my head in as a captain, as you can't understand a word he says. I think if we win this season, it'll be over the League Cup or FA Cup. You can tell it's going to be one of those seasons where it all goes wrong. Well, fingers crossed, bit of positivity. If we focused only on the Premier and Champions League last season, I think we would have won both. Sorry, that's my feeling on it. Well, we'll never know, Kris. We'll never know. I don't think that going long in the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup is the reason that we didn't win. I don't think that had any real bearing on either of the other competitions, did it? Because Champions League, we got all the way through anyway. Thiago was injured in all of the finals pretty much, wasn't he? Or couldn't make it through all of them. So that doesn't really matter. And we lost the final of the Champions League with a fine squad who had a week to recharge. The Premier League, we were in the 90s. We were in the 90s, guys. I know we had that spell where we dropped points, but you're always going to drop points. Not being in the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup doesn't mean we don't drop points. And ultimately, we needed to beat City. And again, I don't think not being in the Cups guarantees that at all. Obviously, welcome to disagree, but I think it's an argument that neither of us can win. Really, we would have won those 2 finals because we would have been fresher. Says Blue Cheese. Going to penalties against Chelsea twice took steam out of the players. Yeah, but we didn't lose the Premier League in the late stages. It was that period, wasn't it? In what was it, December or January, when our midfield was injured and we had Ox, Jones, and Milner or something, or Henderson and Tyler Morton. The it's good in hindsight to say after losing a Champions League final, the players were knackered, but it was a great goalkeeping performance that kept Madrid in it. And then they got a goal that should have been ruled out. That is all. It's margins, isn't it? It's not like we turned up against Madrid. Also, that the whole fan thing that happened beforehand, players' families were involved in that. That took a mental toll as well. Okay, there was that one draw against Tottenham in the late stages. I'll give you that. But again, I think we should have won that game. An English team is never going to do the quad. Last season confirmed for me it's impossible. Agree with people saying it would have been a better idea to prioritise the big two. Oh, come on, guys. Come on. I don't think you have to sacrifice them. I don't think you have to. We played against Shrewsbury with a C team. We won the Carabao Cup because of Minamino, not a first teamer. Because of Minamino, Origi goals, Milner getting more football, Oxlade-Chamberlain playing, Joe Gomez at right back. We had the squad. Maybe that's the problem now. We had that squad. We had that squad depth. Now we've sold a lot of them, and we feel a bit bare. One or two injuries, and our bench looks a bit weak. So yeah, Blue Cheese has kind of covered my point there as well. Said the exact same thing. And we had cup games in Man City time. We played them, by the way. I'll be happy if we can get at least 2 trophies this season. Salah talking crap never helped either. It was just unfortunate, wasn't it? Winning the 2 cups had nothing to do with us failing to win the Premier League title and the Champions League. Yes, I've got Philip on my side. That's all I need. But no, it's certainly an interesting discussion. And far removed from bloody Henderson being in the England squad this international break, isn't it? It's killing us, this international break, and bloody Queen Elizabeth doing her thing. It's killed us. I cannot wait for football to come back, and it's still just under 2 weeks away, isn't it? Liverpool is a team made for winning the Champions League and Premier League, not the FA Cup and Carabao. I know, but you don't have to substitute the two. That's what I'm saying. I don't want us to go out of the cup. I don't want us to go out of the cups. Why would you want that? Our front three for cup matches are Gordon, Jones, and Jota. Yes. I think you're right. Unless we get that Mudryk in January, in which case we've got a backup right winger. But we'll see. We'll leave it there. I think we've talked about we've managed to talk our way into a half an hour stream, and I think we've done a good job. And it's been good to keep up with some of you lot. Henderson just in from around dressing room bants, but I don't think you can underestimate that sometimes. Look, should he be starting week in, week out? No, I agree with you absolutely. And should he even be part of the team? I don't know. I'm maybe edging towards not at this point. But Jurgen Klopp does keep him around. Several managers have kept him around. And he's worked his way up and become this figure. You can't underestimate the impact that they have away outside of what we can see. If you've read that book and you follow this team as closely as I'm sure we all do, we know that a big part of our success is that cohesion, the culture, the characters of players that are brought in is almost specifically tailored for the group. And it's all because it's building towards this success and again, this culture and identity. So you've got to have people who are there who can hold it together. Maybe they're not great. And there's that balancing act. So maybe we're reaching that point where the scales tip and we do need to get... Milner does not need to play. I'll tell you that. We need to have players who can play in front of Milner. Henderson should be on his way out. Henderson should be having the season we thought Milner was having. but instead he's very much a regular. But we'll see what happens after the international break. I don't want him out, but I don't want him to play regularly. Exactly. Henderson being out of our midfield is the reason our season's been poor. He's Trent's cover, and nobody can do it better. He hasn't been doing it, though. He hasn't been doing it. I mean, we were crap when he was in the team. You know, we were crap against Fulham. We were crap against Palace. He hasn't been covering Trent for a long time. In all honesty, I've got to fight you on that one. But we'll leave it on that one. There'll be many more discussions to be had as this week goes on. Hopefully, some news comes out. Maybe someone gets injured or something. I don't know, something to talk about. But thank you very much for joining me, guys. It's been a bit of a painful one, I know. Thank you for sticking with me. Thank you for conversing with me. That's what's going to get us through this. This has been the LFC Transfer Room, another stream. Henderson is part of the England squad after missing 3 games. That is as big as the stories get today, at least. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. Please like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And we'll see you in the next stream. Take care.